Thanks for joining us, everyone. I think, as we're all aware, the Orioles have signed our first round selection from the 2020 draft, Heston Kjerstad, outfielder from the University of Arkansas. And, I'll get into his talent in a second, but we feel that he is the headliner of what's going to be a very impactful draft class overall, and very excited in particular about Heston's role in our organization's future, and what we feel is ultimately going to be his place in the middle of our lineup one day. He's a extremely uh, decorated and productive college player that has performed very highly at the highest levels of amateur baseball, both in the Southeastern Conference and with the Team USA program. And what we saw that led us to select Heston with this pick was a rare combination of power and the ability to hit for average, and what we feel is a swing and an approach that will convert that production to the professional game and ultimately the major leagues. He's also a good athlete and a good defender in right field, throws well. Some of our scouts think he's got an above average to plus arm, and it's a really strong profile for a corner outfielder in today's game. So, ultimately it's a player that we're just very excited about on a number of levels, but particularly the fact that we feel that he's got the potential to be a middle of the order left-handed bat is something that's hard to find. And we were thrilled to select him and bring him into our organization, even in this strange and uncertain time. Where we're signing players and not being able to send them to play in the minor leagues. We're excited to acclimate him to our organization and get him going. So, want to congratulate Heston for joining the Orioles and his achievements thus far, and we're just really happy to have him aboard.
Thanks, Mike. Heston, if you'd like to say a quick word.
Yeah, no, I'd just like to thank everyone that helped get me to this moment. Definitely didn't do it on my own. It takes a group of people, whether it's my parents, my high school coaches, or everyone at the college I went to. There's a ton of people that backed me this whole time. And then also a huge thank you to Mike Elias and the Baltimore Orioles for giving me a shot at playing professional baseball. And, I'm just excited to get my professional career started.
Thanks, Heston. We'll start with that predetermined order for questions. And remember, if you have a question following that, please enter your name, affiliation, and the person the question will be directed to. We'll start with Rock Kubatko of MASNsports.com. Rock.
Thank you. Hey, Mike, what's next for Heston now that you have him signed? And is the work that you're going to be able to get for him without a minor league season going to influence where you would assign him next year?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, it's a question that applies to every minor league baseball player in the world right now, and it's not just him. And we're already in the process of getting him engaged with our player development department and our strength and conditioning department, and our entire support system that we're extending across the organization right now for the players that are kind of on their own to train while they're at home. So we'll just see. We'll see how the year unfolds. We've barely, begun that process with him, and I think there's a lot to work through there. So, we're doing the best we can with these circumstances.
Next up, John Mioli of the Baltimore Sun, followed by Dan Connolly. John.
Thanks, Adam. Heston, this is kind of along the same lines for you. I mean, what have you been prepared for? What have you been told to expect for these next few months? And is there any impressions you've gotten of the player development plan just based on, the types of things they're emphasizing now?
Like Mike said, we're super early in the process because we just finally got signed, and they're planning on getting in touch with me with the hitting coach and the swing coach and stuff like that. And then they develop a plan for all of us minor leaguers as a group on what we'll do going forward and how we can start preparing for this off season and getting ready for the next minor league season too.
Next up, Dan Connolly of The Athletic, followed by Joe Trezza. Dan.
Thanks, Adam. This question's for Ken. obviously you've known this kid for a while. First of all, what made you want to push for him? What was it about Heston that you really liked? And secondly, Ken, getting the second pick overall as a scout is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing, being able to land that. What was the last few hours on draft day like for you, waiting to hear his name?
It's pretty nerve-wracking, kind of like this interview. Obviously, area scouts are not in the limelight. But first and foremost, this is not just my pick or my player. I mean, I'm elated to be associated with Heston, but this is from Mike, Sig, Brad, to our Midwest cross-checker and Jim Richardson, Hank Hendricks, our analytics department, and our entire amateur scouting staff. It's a group effort to get a player like this, and certainly we're all excited. As far as what attracted me to Heston initially was just his ability and his knack for squaring up the baseball routinely. He can do damage with pitchers' pitches. He shows power to all fields. He has natural hitter's instincts. He profiles well in right field, like Mike said. And the best part is he'll maximize his potential and his tools with his hard work, his ethic, and his genuine love for the game.
Next up, we have Joe Trezza, MLB.com, followed by Rich Dubroff. Joe?
Heston, this is kind of a spin-off of that question. How has your relationship with Ken evolved over the years? And how have you changed as a player from the time when you first met to now?
Definitely changed a lot since I first met him. I was probably around, I think 10, 11 years old when I first met him. He was coaching my brother's summer ball team, so I was just a little kid back then. So definitely made a lot of improvements from all then. And then he started watching me in high school, whatever, senior year. And, he saw me then and there. And, I wasn't the player in high school that I am now. And then he watched me through college, and luckily he was in Fayetteville quite a bit. So we always kept in touch. Anytime he was at the field, we'd always have a conversation. He was always wanting to keep up with how my family was doing and everything. And, he's just always a great guy to me. And, it just shows a lot about the type of people the Orioles have in their organization.
Next up, we have Rich Dubroff of BaltimoreBaseball.com, followed by Steve Molesky. Rich?
Hey, Heston, was there any doubt from the time the Orioles drafted you that you would sign with the team? Did you think at all about going back to college?
Oh, no way. That was, once you get drafted, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and to be the second overall pick, that's something you dream about your whole life. And it was my time to move on from college baseball and start my journey into professional baseball and see where it takes me.
Next up, we have Steve Molesky of MASNsports.com, followed by Sean Stepner. Go ahead, Steve.
This one's for Ken. Ken, since you scouted Heston a long time, even well before Arkansas, we've heard he got bigger, especially after he got to the university. What did you see over that process, and what did that mean to his game?
Yeah, I mean, actually, in high school, he was much smaller. He was actually switch hitting in high school when I first saw him. And when I was in the clubhouse prior to his freshman spring season, I was sitting down with one of the coaches who's now the pitching coach in Minnesota, and Heston walked in, and he looked like a completely different person. And I knew right then and there that I probably underestimated what his power tool was going to be. And immediately going into that spring of his freshman year, he proved my notion right that day. So, sometimes as scouts, we do the best we can to project, but, players do get bigger, they get better. And, certainly Heston showed the advancements that he made strictly physically coming out of high school into his, initial year there at Arkansas.
Next up, we have Sean Stepner of WMAR, followed by Tom Murphy. Sean, go ahead.
Hey, this is for Heston. Congratulations. You've had some time to kind of get to know the Orioles organization here. What are your impressions of, the organization, the prospects that the O's have now that you're a part of those prospects, and what the future holds now that you're a part of it?
Oh, definitely pumped to be a part of the Orioles organization, and starting with Mike Elias all the way down to everyone involving, even the players. I think it's a great organization. Honestly, it's a great fit for me with the people and everything. They take care of everyone well, and they definitely have a lot of talent coming up in their minor league system, and I think it's going to be a great place for me to be able to develop and reach my full potential.
Next up, we have Tom Murphy of the Arkansas Dem-Gazette for Mike Elias, followed by Mark Viviano. Tom, go ahead.
Hey, guys. Appreciate you setting up the call to begin with. Mike, what's the bullet point version of the build you guys have going on? If you could speak to the fact you've added Rutschman and Heston Kjerstad, and then a brief comment about what Blaine Knight has done for you guys so far.
Sure. We're trying to accumulate as much impact talent as we can. The high draft picks that we've had the past couple of years are a big part of that. And the draft picks the years prior are out pitching well in the minor leagues, or they were until the shutdown, I should say. But we're trying to bring in talent from all angles. We've activated our international market in a way that the organization has never done before. We've improved our player development capabilities, and we're doing our best to maximize the opportunities presented to us with each and every draft pick. So, we're really excited about what's shaping up. There's a lot of work left to do. We're in a tough division. The other teams are drafting and signing players as well. This is really competitive, but I really feel that things are right on track in terms of us accumulating a talent pipeline. And, coming from Arkansas, as Blaine Knight did as well, that these players get a tremendous coaching experience. It's a first-rate program. They're used to the rigors of a competitive environment, and the SEC, as I said at the top, I say this a lot, but it's the best conference in college baseball, and it's a very difficult conference to succeed in. And similar to how Heston's dominance in that conference, means a lot for his success going forward. I think what Blaine Knight did there as well helps prepare him for pro ball. So it's a big part of our evaluation with these guys is looking at where they came from.
If I could squeeze one in for Heston, when did you drop the switch hitting, Heston? And also, is that the first time you've had on the Orioles uniform? How long you had it?
Second time wearing it. First time was when I signed the other day. And then switch hitting, I did it all through high school, mainly just because it was something to do. And, I love just hitting and everything. And, I just started going from that side because I'm really supposed to be a natural right-handed hitter because I do everything else right-handed. So it was kind of pretty easy. But, my senior year of high school, I started realizing I was able to hit left-handed pitching real well. And my left-handed swing was more advanced and everything. So it was time to just focus on one side and just make one side as good as it could be.
Thanks.
Next up, we have Mark Viviano at WJZ. Question for Heston, followed by Bob Holt. Mark, go ahead.
Hey, Heston. Apologize for the background noise here. You're a professional baseball player without a season to play. Mike Elias mentioned earlier this week how that's a setback for any young guy who's trying to get his feet wet in pro ball. How much of a setback is it for you not to have a season to play, and how do you plan to make up for it?
It's definitely tough not being able to go out and play games because me personally, I think that's the best way to improve as a player is to be playing every day and facing high-level competition. And, it's definitely something you're going to have to work with. Every minor leaguer is struggling with the same thing. Nobody's going to face competition. So you're going to need to be a little bit creative in your training and also making sure maybe you're getting live at bats wherever you're at with a group of guys or doing a lot of machine work to simulate real at bats and things like that, just to stay prepared. And, you always got to keep improving.
Next question for Ken comes from Bob Holt of the Arkansas Democratic Gazette, followed by Joe Trezza. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Ken, how you doing?
Good.
I guess, did you live in Amarillo, I'm assuming, when you coached Heston? Where do you live now? And at what age do you remember thinking, wow, this guy could maybe be a big league prospect?
Yeah, actually, I live just north of the DFW Metroplex. So West Texas is not actually a very sought-out place to travel to. But when I was coaching his brother, I was coaching a team. This was prior to me scouting. I was coaching a team in the DFW Metroplex. It also included someone you all know, Dylan Bundy. But I honestly, the first time I really considered Heston, a major league prospect, was probably in Farmington, New Mexico, when I saw him at the Connie Mack World Series prior to his senior year. And that really put him on the map for me as a prospect to follow going into his senior year. So that was, initially when he was 11 and 12, my focus was on the field at the time. And I would see Heston running around in the stands and his folks trying to keep track of him. But I really started to zero in on him when he was a junior, right before his senior year, when I saw him at the Connie Mack World Series in Farmington.
Next up, we have Joe Trezza, followed by Sean Stepner. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Heston. It seems like when everybody talks about the kind of player you are and the kind of prospect you've become, whether it's you or Ken or Mike, they talk about how much you've grown physically and how much stronger you've gotten. But your swing seems like a pretty unique swing. I'm wondering, where did that come from, and how did that evolve over your time at Arkansas, and who kind of takes credit for helping mold that?
It's a natural developed swing. I didn't grow up really going to lessons or anything like that. It was just me and my dad. We would go up to the cage practically almost every day, and he would just throw me BP, and I would just hit and try to hit the ball as hard and as far as I can to all parts of the field. It just slowly developed, and that's what worked for me. And I take all the credit for it because I was the one who mastered it. And it's kind of like playing the guitar. It's my form of art, and you kind of have your own unique rhythm or whatever you want with it. And when I went to Arkansas, Coach Thompson, he's individual to everyone. If this works for you, or he thinks this will work for you as a hitter, he'll help you out, and then he'll go to the next kid and he'll teach it different. So it was really cool to be in a program like that really catered your approach to the style of player or hitter you are.
Next up, we have Sean Stepner, followed by Nathan Ruiz. Sean, go ahead.
Thanks, Adam. This is for Mike. Just a couple real quick. Any consideration toward Heston being part of the 60-player pool? And kind of on the topic of the players reporting today to Camden Yards with player intake screening, have you any update you can give us on that? Have you heard how that's going?
Going okay so far from everything that has come my way, and we can tell. I mean, it's going to be an ongoing process, but we're starting the season. We're getting going here, and we're going to have a workout in a couple days on the 3rd. Yeah, I mean, with the pools, that's something that we're assessing and deciding as we go with any candidate for that pool. Our analysis of the rules and the season and the way it's structured is that bringing up young minor leaguers for player development purposes, has some risks in terms of your roster flexibility, and potentially, if you have to tap into the depth on your roster, you're going to need those spots potentially during the year. And players that are not on the 40-man roster, you can't get them out of that pool if you ever need to without releasing them effectively, and obviously nobody wants to do that. So we're taking those decisions pretty slowly and carefully, and that's why we've only announced 44 players so far. So we'll just see how it all unfolds.
Next up, we have Nathan Ruiz of the Baltimore Sun. His question's for Heston. And just a reminder, if you have a question, please put your name, affiliation in the chat box. Go ahead, Nathan.
Thanks, Adam. Hey, Heston. Mike mentioned earlier kind of the depth and the advancement of the Arkansas program. I was wondering your comfort level, your familiarity with some of those newer hitting technologies, your familiarity with advanced statistics, and just how comfortable you'll be in reading those, seeing those once you're in the Orioles organization.
Yeah, luckily being at Arkansas, they provide all that, whether it's Rep, Soto, TrackMan, Blast, anything and everything. They were giving us access to all of it. And, it was definitely really cool because we're able to kind of learn it. And definitely being in college, we really don't have legit analytics dudes. So quite a bit of it was on your own trying to figure out how to work the systems and stuff like that. So it really gave you a good understanding of the numbers, and, you could analyze your own stuff whenever you wanted. So that was really handy being around it.
Next up, we have Jerry Coleman from 105.7 The Fan. His question's for Mike. Go ahead,
Hey,
Jerry.
Mike. Thank you, Mike, and thanks for taking the time. As far as from your perspective, first of all, are you at Camden Yards? I have no idea where you are, so I don't even know if you're there. And as far as what you're learning, is everyone anticipated still to be there and report by the end of the week? And one other question in terms of the schedule, have you heard anything about a date for a release?
I do not know when the schedule is going to become public. I've seen drafts of it myself, but I don't know the answer of when it's going to become public. I'm sitting in my house right now, but yeah, the beginning of the season is we've launched the intake. It's underway, and we're moving along right now, and people are. Players are undergoing intake as we speak.
Next question comes from Bob Holt. This question's for Heston. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Heston, how you doing? Congratulations. Hey, I know a lot of the bonus money's deferred with the pandemic and everything, but I think you got $100,000, and I'm not sure what you get after taxes. But is there anything you want to buy initially, or get for your folks, or anything? Have you any thoughts about that?
Not really. I'm trying to save as much as I can, because it's once in a lifetime. I'm gonna get paid the whatever it is, and you don't know when your next paycheck's gonna come. And probably definitely want to do something for my parents, but don't know what. And they also told me that they don't want a penny because I earned it, and they're good enough with everything they've done for me. That's my thing, which is really cool of them. But for sure, see what happens. But I'm pretty happy with what I have in life. I really don't need too much materialistic things or anything like that.
Next question we have from Todd Karpovich of PressBox.com for Mike. Go ahead, Todd.
Have you gotten any guidance as far as fans being able to attend games during the season?
Yeah, I think that's something that will be continually assessed as circumstances in the world allow. And right now it's not on anyone's mind. And I'm speaking in terms of all 30 teams. We're trying to focus on getting the players playing safely first.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks to Mike, Ken, and Heston for joining us as well. And this will wrap it up for us.